G'day folks, we're down here in Hastings today, and the purpose of our visit to Hastings is to have a chat to Jason here. And Jason, as a part of his business, actually operates drones. Now, as you all may be aware, a drone is an object in the sky, and they can very much quite easily be confused for an unidentified flying object. And today we want to have a bit of a talk about how they work, what their applications are, and where you might basically be likely to see one in the local area. So first of all, I'd like to welcome you, Jason.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming along. I was just wondering if you could first of all, for our viewers today, just explain to us how the drones actually work, how they actually get off the ground, and what they're made of, and that type of thing.
Okay. All right, well, the particular drones that I use are what they call a multi-rotor. They can be anywhere from a 3, 4, 6 or 8 bladed, effectively it's a helicopter.
Yep.
Now, they generally, I don't fly fixed wing, but look, it's effectively a commercial grade aircraft. We use them for aerial survey, for taking photos, video.
Yep.
They can be used for law enforcement, pretty much any purpose that requires fast response shots of the ground from an aerial position.
Yep. Yep.
Now, they're generally made out of anything from carbon fibre to flight grade aluminium.
Yep.
Some do come in with these modified carbon plastics.
Yep.
But personally I tend to avoid them. They tend to fracture.
Yep. Yep.
So, because I run a pretty high stress system, so
Yep.
But the idea of these things is they are designed to carry equipment effectively at the day, usually video or still equipment.
Yep. Yep. Excellent. And what sort of payload capabilities can they actually carry?
Depending on the size of the system that you use. My particular system is capable of carrying up to quite comfortably 6 kilos. It will go up to 8 kilos if need be. It all comes down to how many propellers or how many motors you're running and how much power you have available to the system. That's its only real restriction.
That's its only real restriction, yep. And I understand that they're battery operated.
Yep.
And can you just explain to us a bit about the batteries, what they're made of, and
okay.
their capabilities or performance?
A lot of the old aircraft used to use the NiCad batteries, which everyone would, you would resemble from your phones and all that sort of stuff used to have them. The batteries that we fly now are called a lithium polymer or a LiPo battery.
Yeah.
They're very lightweight, but a massive high output. For instance, the batteries that I run, they're a 5,000 milliamp battery, and what they call a 20C burst rate, which means it can dump that 5 amps in about 4.5 seconds, generating around 300 cold cranking amps into any device. So they could start a car, not a problem at all.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible.
So, but because they're lightweight with a massive amount of power, they enable the unit to have a lighter weight, which then would give you the opportunity to have a much heavier carry payload.
Yep. And I think one of the most intriguing parts about the units, and certainly from people who are spotting UFOs, is the actual lighting system that's on them. Can you explain to us how the lights are configured and what people might see when they look up?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Look, the lights are basically for the operator to identify effectively the nose and tail of the unit. Because unlike a plane or a helicopter, there's no specific tail on these things when you look at them. Like a disc, there's no front to a dinner plate. So the lights on the underside enable us to identify the nose and the tail. So generally we'll have a red light that would identify, or a strip of red lights that would identify the nose, and some blue lights that would identify the tail end. Yeah. So, because when you're standing underneath the item, it's pretty hard to determine which is front, which is back. Yeah, no worries. And also I wanted to just touch on another thing that we spoke about earlier before we started filming. These things sound particularly interesting. So if you're combining the lights that you're looking at and a particular sound, what type of sound are people likely to hear when they see these drones? It's been likened, I've heard people describe it quite differently. I've heard everything from bees to wasps, but a massive hive of bees or wasps coming at you. Yeah, it's an interesting sound. It doesn't sound like your remote control helicopters or any of your remote control planes. It's a completely unique sound. Yeah. And I think that's what throws a lot of people. It's not loud, but it is one of those sounds that when you hear it, it's a very distinctive sound. Yeah. So just pay attention to that, folks, because when you actually see one up in the air, you're going to hear a sound that is actually nothing you've ever heard before. So you've got to be very, very, very careful that you actually are looking at a drone.
So thanks very much for that.
No worries.
Now I understand also that it communicates with the satellites as well via the, and we'll have a look at the unit directly afterwards. Can you explain to us how that works?
Yeah, sure. Look, generally, for instance, most phones that would have a GPS module in them, it's small. It's about a quarter of the size of a stamp in your phone.
Yeah.
The GPS modules we use are about a 1-inch square module, so it's 100 times more powerful. But I talk to satellites, gives me a satellite positioning, so I can actually lock in the position of the unit under flight.
Yeah.
It will hold its position. It will not move.
Yeah.
It may drift around a little bit, but that's the inaccuracies of the satellite still.
Yes.
But that gives it a safety factor, effectively. A lot of people sort of are concerned that it can be used because it can be programmed to fly a specific path.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's more of a safety issue than it is a hazard.
Yeah.
Reason being is because they do have a mode, what they call is a come home mode, which means if the pilot has any problems or any issues, the unit can actually be, with a flick of a switch, will actually fly back and fly above the position where it was originally powered up.
Yeah.
So if anything goes wrong, flick of a switch, it comes straight home. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a safety issue. That's not a that's not a disadvantage.
No, absolutely. That's great. It's almost like a homing pigeon when it remembers that it's going to go back to the spot where it actually originated from. So another quick question, again related to performance, is how far away from you, the operator, can it go? What sort of a maximum distance can it travel away from your central point, from that point where it knows it started from?
Okay, well, there's two thoughts on that. The first thought is legally, as an operator or a licensed operator, you have what they call a line of sight. That means you have a rooftop of 400 feet. So you can't go any higher than 400 feet from when you start your apparatus. Yeah. Then as far as distance goes, a lot of them are locked in with the GPS to a 250 metre radius. So yeah. I can't actually travel any further than 250 metres from this point out in any direction. I'm limited by that.
Yeah.
Now that is built into the software. I cannot override that, no matter what I do.
Yeah.
What I can do is, if I'm flying as a hobbyist, I'm completely unrestricted by distance, as long as I have a straight line of sight to it.
A straight line of sight to it. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And in the metropolitan area, are you aware of how many people might be operating these particular units in a professional capacity?
There are a lot of guys that are flying them around as a hobby yet. There are a lot of hobby models available. They'll set you back a couple $100, up to $1,000 for a good one. Yeah. They're not by any means designed to carry, DSLRs or large cameras. They're designed to carry more of your small GoPros, or just for having fun at your local flying park and stuff like that. Yeah. You've got to be wary where you do fly as a hobbyist. But it's at the end of the day, there's different models and everyone flies differently, and if you're interested in getting into them, look, have a look online, have a look at what's available. I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities out there, just to have a fun fly. And for people that want to get into the RC side of things, if you can't fly a plane or fly a heli, there's chances are there actually is a model out there that's a multi-rotor that you actually can fly. Some of them out there's little ones that you can buy from your local hobby store, and they're small. You can fly them in your lounge room, and these things have full stabilising on them and everything like that. So I mean, they're amazing, these little ones, and that's a great start.
Absolutely, and so there's great opportunities out there for the budding keen enthusiast who can't quite get his pilot's license. So I was just wondering also if you could just touch back again for us also on going back to the applications of them, and just having a discussion about who is actually employing you to use the drone, and what the actual work that you're doing for them is, and and just the range of that would be great.
Look, they can be used as much as the imagination can really expand. They get used from everything from real estate to land survey. They can be used for search and rescue, different types of drones. I know they use them currently over in the Middle East. A lot of the military are using certain types of drones to save themselves from having to walk into a dangerous position. But locally, real estate, land survey, a lot of farmers will use them to see the condition of their land. They can use them. They've been using them up at the Queensland floods. They've been using them for insurance purposes to assess the damage to the local area, because I mean there's no access by boat or any means into the area. The helicopters are all tied up saving people. So I mean, these things can get in for the insurance companies and try and speed up the applications for the people.
Yeah.
You know, at the end, there's no end to what they can do. They can be used for, you know, they can carry flirt cameras, they can carry heat sensitive cameras, they can carry your standard digital SLRs, they can carry video cameras, GoPro cameras, so they can be used for sporting events, festivals, weddings, family portraits, you name it, for anything. It's just a different angle on, you know, the standard photography line.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that that there's issues of privacy that are attached to this particular activity?
Well, the Privacy Act at the moment depicts that we can't film into an area that anyone would deem as private property without the person's specific permission. And I've always respected that. I have no problem with that, and I don't know anyone that does fly that doesn't respect that.
Yeah.
And it's you kind of got to look at, you know, for instance, for law enforcement, you know, they're going to be able to need to use something in order to look into a property that, you know, could be a person being held up in a backyard or anything, you know, or some illegal practitioner going on. You just don't know. It's kind of a very funny line, you know. It's a lot of it is just discretion, just knowing in yourself that, you know, if you're shooting and photographing something, that you're not photographing something that you shouldn't be shooting.
Photographing, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just make that fair call, and, you know, use your conscience and think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good advice. Just taking it back to from a UFO perspective, and how you originally contacted us was your drone was flying in the area down here, and people actually did report it as an actual UFO. So can you just give us a bit more of a rundown of what happened that day and how that situation actually came about?
Yeah, sure. I was actually taking some shots of within the Carrum area, and I was just flying down just off the beach, probably about 50 metres off the beach over the water, and with a DSLR underneath the rig, and some people who literally were standing behind me on terraces really weren't paying attention, standing on their balcony looking up taking photos. Now that happens quite a lot. I get a lot of people taking photos of what I do. Yeah. That's nothing unusual. But next thing I know, I'm getting phone calls from friends of mine and family saying, do you realise you're in the paper? That people have identified you as being a UFO. I said, yeah, I know I'm strange, but they were referring to the rig. But I then contacted the newspaper and said, look, I think we need to kind of set the record straight. I don't want to panic people. I want people to understand it. Look, this is technology. This is where it's going these days.
Yeah.
And if it's for the benefit and saves money for people down the line, hey, look, we need to embrace it, not hide from it. So I contacted the newspaper and they just did a follow-up story to let people know that, look, it wasn't a UFO, it's completely safe and harmless, and this is what it does.
Yeah, and that's fantastic, and all credit to you for actually doing that too, because for people like us who are serious UFO researchers, when we find that something is a man-made object and it's not identified as such, it still remains on the record for us as an unidentified object, and we have that day, that time, that object, and it's still regarded in that particular category. So by talking about the drones today, we're actually demystifying and educating people. So that's really fantastic. Perhaps you could just explain to us also a little bit how the controller actually works.
All right, the controller that I currently use is a specially modified controller. It's not a standard RC controller as in terms.
Yeah.
These have been specially modified to fly these particular aircraft.
Yeah.
They built in with what they call a Jetty module, which is a full telemetry. It gives me all the information. It tells me how many satellites I'm talking to.
Yeah.
It tells me my battery condition. It tells me all the information that I need to know that the system is operating safely.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest issue. It's about a safety issue for me. So as long as I know that all the numbers on the instrumentation is giving me the right numbers, I know that everything is okay.
Everything is okay. Yeah.
You know, so, and I know how far the batteries have got to go. So I know when to bring this thing home and land this thing before this thing drops out of the sky. But mind you, they actually do have in a safety protocol. If the batteries get too low, it will actually land itself.
Wow.
Without any of my control. It will just come down very slowly and gently.
Yep.
And you know, or if the controller actually malfunctions, it will actually, what they do, it'll actually come to the come home position. So it will actually come, if I switch the controller off during flight, or my batteries die, or something goes wrong, or I get knocked out, or something happens. You know, anything can possibly happen. You never know.
Yeah.
The safety of one of these things is, it will come home to where I initially powered it up.
Yeah.
And it will land itself when the batteries decrease. So it will actually come home and land. So I can, and I've done it many a times. I've proven it in demonstrations where I've actually switched the radio off. I've sat down in the seat and everyone has actually witnessed the thing fly home and land right where it took off. And it's a very bizarre thing to do. It's a bit like the cars that reverse park for you.
Absolutely.
It's very similar, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely incredible. And look, and again, I want to thank you today for taking the opportunity to talk to us. And now we might have a bit of a look at its actual performance. So thanks again very much.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. No hard.
No, it's coming out, no matter what I do, stay stable. So that's in the back and front. It'll stabilise in any direction. Stay whatever angle I
Can you show us how quickly it can go straight up?
Ready?
Yep. I've lost it. Maybe.
As you can see, I'm talking to the sensor. Currently roughly about 4 or 5 metres forward. Degrees north. Yep, there you go. Ready to compass. Voltage, 20 amps. Right. Temperature of everything. Temperature of everything. This tells me how much power I'm using. It's currently drawing 500 watts. Yeah. 36 amps. Yeah. There you go. Satellite 10. Digital GPS.
How was it drawing when it was going up?
Oh, that would draw it to about probably
400 sitting there.
yeah, probably draw about 800-900.
Oh yeah.
We do a landing?
Sure.